Oh, come on, Andy.
Hello, welcome to MCFC 9320. We've got a couple of new guests with us tonight. We've got Scott, who's a big City fan, and we've also got Ben. Ben, before I come to our regulars, let's go straight to you, buddy. Do you want to introduce yourself and why you're on with us tonight?
Yeah, sure. I'm on with you because obviously you've picked up a few of our players recently. Manuel Akanji, Erling Haaland, former player Sergio Gomez, a few others there, Ilkay Gundogan and so on. And we've got you in the Champions League. So I run the Borussia Dortmund official fan club, and it's just great to be on. And let's talk about Borussia Dortmund and the connection to Manchester City.
Yeah, it seems that I think the only thing we don't like at the connection between like English football and Dortmund really is Jurgen Klopp.
Mm. Well,
he could have kept him.
I'll be honest, Ben. When he first came to the, when he was at Dortmund, I thought, what a great manager. He just seems to have gone down the path of a typical scouser, really. The way he's integrated himself with that. But I don't want to talk about Klopp. I just want to have me two penneth worth.
No, you're all right. I get where you're coming from. It's Liverpool's not unlike Dortmund. They've got a great Catholic heritage, working man's clubs. Dortmund, he feels very, very comfortable in Liverpool, and I'm sorry to say that the Reds have got a big pedigree for German fans. A lot of fans love those big northwestern clubs, but they'll be loving Man City soon. Don't worry.
What do you mean soon? I'm sure they'll be following. As you say, we've got the two departures from Dortmund are obvious. This summer. Obviously, Haaland, who everybody knows about, and also Manuel Akanji. What can we expect to see from Akanji and certainly Sergio Gomez?
God, that's a lot to talk about, mate. You sure you want to jump straight in there?
Yeah, I can always edit it.
You know what? You've got yourself a Swiss international defender. He's got I can't remember how many caps he's got. It must be at least 40, and he's in his about 26, I think 26, 27. You've got him on a 5-year contract. You've paid, in English terms, cheap as chips, 15 million for the guy. What could possibly go wrong? Basically, he's your fourth centre back, as far as I know. You've got a couple of guys injured at the moment. He's a solid, reliable guy who can do the job when he needs to. And you know what? If you don't have to pay him week in, week out like Dortmund did, he played 36 games for Dortmund last season. Basically, you've got a good guy. I think Akanji, he's not the kind of guy you'd want to have in your first 11, but he's a very, very good guy to have on your bench.
And for me, Ben, sorry to chip in.
You're right.
For Pep to sign another centre back, as us City fans will probably have an inkling. It looks like we'll probably lose Nathan Ake or even Laporte. Would any of you go along with that, guys?
No, I don't think we would actually. I think he wants more backup for the centre backs. In the day, we struggle with injuries at time. He had to play Fernandinho in that role when he was here with us because of shortage of centre backs. He's bought another one now to cover that. With no Fernandinho, so he needed another centre back. Simple as. And I can't see us losing any.
I agree with John.
Oh, it's not like you. It's only because he comes round and sorts your plumbing out, Anne-Marie, isn't it?
No, I think he's right, though, because I think at the end of last season, it really highlighted the shortage in defence that we had. If you think at the end of last season, we had Kyle Walker out injured, Diaz out injured, Ake out injured, and it literally left us with Stones and Laporte. And Laporte, as we now know, was nowhere near 100% because he had that knee injury. So I think it does, I think won't do us any harm having that. And with a bit of luck, I'm hoping to see after yesterday's performance, if we can move on to that, I want to see somebody who can play right back.
So, Ben, Manuel Akanji more than anybody, because you're a huge Dortmund fan. Is he somebody who's adaptable? Because Pep seems to like players what can be adaptable. Because even with Sergio Gomez, it's I don't know if you caught the interview for Manuel Akanji, his first interview for City. One of the questions was asked that is he surprised to see him, being brought in as more or less a left back when at Dortmund he played as a number 10, didn't he?
No, he has played in midfield, but he's predominantly played as a centre back at the club. No, he's definitely a defender. As I said earlier, he is 27 to be exact, and as I said before, he's got 41 caps for Switzerland. He's won titles with Basel, with Dortmund. He's done well wherever he's gone. The problem with Manuel Akanji is basically he's a good all-round footballer, basically solid, high tempo. He's fast. He's well built. He's got that combination of being Swiss by education and upbringing, but he's of a Nigerian background, so he's got that physical strength and speed at the same time. He is a good model professional. He's got a good attitude. He's had no disciplinarian problems at all at Dortmund, no red cards. But he basically is a guy who has slight concentration lapses if you play him too much. So basically, he's the ideal guy to come, as your colleague said, to come off the bench and basically fill in for a few weeks, maybe up, for a short period of time. But I don't think he'd be in your first 11, really. Personally, what I think Pep Guardiola's doing is he's basically trying him out, bringing him in on a 5-year contract, knowing perfectly well that when you spent the equivalent of about £12 million, in a league like England, you can easily turn him over and get twice that much if he turns out to be reasonably good from a middling English club, basically.
Like United.
Well, you know what? I said I had a little secret for you.
Go on.
He's a United fan.
Absolutely. 2018.
I know it already.
With an interview with the Neue Zürcher Zeitung, said Manchester United have been my favourite team ever since I was a little kid, and I'd love to play in the Premier League. So at least he's going to get one of those two things.
Oh, can we not seeing as he's not played for us yet? Can we not transfer him to United? I seem to be going off a little bit here.
End of the day, he's a footballer. He's a professional, and it doesn't matter as long as he's playing for the certain team. He'll do his best for that team. You saw what happened with Everton yesterday, and what's his name?
Cody.
Yeah, he's a Liverpool fan through and through. And the way he celebrated, scoring against him, was amazing. Pity didn't stand.
Before it got disallowed. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. And my stance on it is on that kind of thing as well. If, say, a Jack Grealish, scores against Villa, I'd expect him to be, celebrating and cheering, as I would, any City fan professional footballer who scores again, just say for instance Dzeko come back and scored against us, I'd expect Dzeko to celebrate or anyone like that.
Just you wait to see the Sterling celebration when he scores against us.
No. Sorry, I'm gonna have to disagree with you all on that one. I'm sorry, but if it's not your home team and you're playing against another team, which is a team that you played for, then no, you don't celebrate, and that's the way I see it.
So you've got a journeyman striker then who's played for say 10 Premier League teams, but he's pretty prolific. He won't be celebrating enough every week, would he?
Well, no. I mean, you celebrate your goals, but if it's a team that you've grown up with and a team that you've grown up to love, then no, you're not going to celebrate a goal against him.
I can't see Jack Grealish celebrating if he scored against Villa, because he was a boy at Villa.
Yeah, and we on that one. Yeah,
I can certainly see Sterling celebrating scoring against us.
Yeah, so can I.
Yeah. So Ben, let's just touch upon the product. It's a bit of a production line in it at Dortmund. You've got an eye for picking up on players and stuff like that, making them into decent players. You did with you took Jadon Sancho from us. You've took another couple from us.
Jadon Brav.
Yeah, and
Jadon Brav, Jadon Sancho.
And also, just can I put my hand up here for a second and just say that your physio person
Denzel
is
Boadu, we picked
uh,
up from Manchester City a few
no,
years back.
no, your physio person is really great, and you know.
We've just changed the physio.
Oh, we seem to have lost Scott there.
Okay.
Don't know if it was his dodgy connection. So yeah, who's the next? What we obviously know you've got Jude Bellingham as well. You know, he's been touted about. You know, all the top clubs. Is being a Dortmund fan, do you come to expect, you know, players, you know, being cherry picked from you?
Well, our head of academy, I don't know if, I mean, I think you're probably old enough to remember the 1997 Champions League final between Dortmund and Juventus.
Yeah.
And our head of academy is a guy called Lars Ricken, who you probably remember scored that wonderful 3-1. Where the Juve goalkeeper, I can't remember who it was way out of the box, and Ricken scored from the centre line. It was absolutely astonishing. And Ricken, in a BBC interview last year, said Dortmund doesn't buy their players, they make them. They make the stars of the future.
Yep.
And I think, I mean, that's largely true. I mean, in terms of Manchester City, in the last couple of years, we've picked up Jamie Bino Gittens. We've picked up Denzel Boadu, Jadon Sancho, Jaden Braff this season. And there are a lot of these young guys are basically coming from the academies of clubs like Manchester City and other big clubs, Chelsea, Man United, and so on.
Yeah.
17, 18 years old. And basically Dortmund then puts them through the mill of the under-19s, the under-23s. And the Dortmund second team play in the third tier, which is basically equivalent of League One. So, you know, in that league, they're playing against top sides, like, you know, clubs that you would remember.
Mm-hmm.
Erste FC Kaiserslautern. Do you remember Kaiserslautern?
Yeah.
Or 1860 Munich, or MSV Duisburg, teams like that. Well-known former Bundesliga teams. So basically, you know, you get a kid who's coming out of the Manchester City under-19s or whatever, suddenly he's playing against Kaiserslautern in front of 40,000 at the Betzenberg Stadion, which is now called the Fritz-Walter Stadion. And it basically is the making of the man, you know. I mean, Dortmund is basically a cauldron, a kind of a mixing pot for talent. And we buy our young players from clubs like Ajax, Manchester City, Liverpool, and so on. And then we basically sell them back to the big clubs again. I mean, Erling Haaland is just one example. We bought him for 20 million, kept him for 2 years, and then we sold him to, 60, almost 70 million to Manchester City. And I'll tell you what, Jude Bellingham's going to be exactly the same. 18 million from Birmingham City, playing in the Championship. We're going to have him for 2 years and we'll sell him back for 70, 80 million. I absolutely guarantee it. He's already an England star.
That's something you accept, though.
No, well, I wouldn't say you accept it. You get used to it, basically. In Dortmund, I think probably like every football club, the fans have an expression which is no one's bigger than the club, basically. And so basically players come, players go, the club remains, you know, and the fans remain and they come back season after season. The only thing that changes is the names on the back of the shirt, basically. Yeah, I think Dortmund fans are probably a bit more forgiving than perhaps some, because we're just used to losing our best players and mostly to Bayern Munich, and that's the bit that hurts.
Yeah,
when a player like Mario Götze or Mats Hummels goes to Bayern, that really hurts.
Yeah. And what was it? Lewandowski also, he played for Dortmund as well,
didn't he? Lewandowski we picked up for 275,000. And he was just sold to Barcelona from Bayern for, I think it was about 80 million. And Dortmund let him go on a free because they ran his contract down. But I mean, let's face it, 275,000. And I'll tell you another great player that came to Dortmund on a free was Shinji Kagawa. You'll probably remember him playing at Manchester United as well.
Yeah.
They've got a great scouting setup, an absolutely great scouting setup. But I'll tell you another kick in the testicles. The head of scouting has just left for Bayern Munich, Markus Pilawa. So that was a big scandal at Dortmund just before the season broke.
Yeah,
it's difficult being a club from a poor industrial city that has relied on coal and steel. You know, I mean, the Ruhrgebiet area where Schalke and Dortmund come from, and certainly Manchester City can sing a song about Schalke 04.
Yeah.
I love that. There's a good story about that I can tell you as well. When they came, I think you thrashed them. What was it, 7-2 or something in the Champions
Yeah.
League?
That's right. Yeah.
We were loving you for that. We were absolutely loving you. There's nothing we hate more than Schalke 04.
Yeah. So
We get used to it, mate. We get used to it.
So we've drawn you in the Champions League. What? It's going to be some reception for Haaland, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a warm reception for Haaland. I mean, the lad's a legend. I mean, basically, he's from a small town on the coast of I mean, born in Leeds, obviously. He's from a small town on the coast of Norway. And his dad, Alf Inge, obviously played for Manchester City, and they're very passionate about Man City in his home. And basically, he came to Dortmund on the advice of a guy who I've interviewed, because I do the Dortmund podcast here in England, called Dortmund Fan Club Podcast London. And basically, we had Andre Bagdolmo, the former Ajax and Dortmund player, on 56-time Norway international. He was talking about how Erling Haaland was basically brought up. And, he basically was going to be a footballer from the day he was born. He did it incredibly well at Dortmund. I mean, better than you could possibly have imagined. I think Dortmund were very, very disappointed at the end of the day that Mino Raiola, his agent, had inserted a clause that meant that he could go for about 60 million or 65 million. There was rumours at the time that our Haaland would probably end up going for 100 million plus, but and that was money that Dortmund could do with. Let's face it. I mean, the best transfer we ever did was a guy called Ousmane Dembélé, who we bought for 25 million and sold 2 seasons later, having bought him from Rennes to Barcelona for 130 million. At the end of the day, Dortmund did a deal like that. They can't be doing deals like that every season. But I suspect, as I said before, that Jude Bellingham will be another £100 million deal. So, we get them. They come along every now and again, and it means that Dortmund, coming from a basically post-industrial city which relied on steel and coal mining, basically, we have difficulty competing with Bayern Munich, who are Munich is the richest city. They're the London of Germany, basically. Yeah. They're the richest city by far. And it's an interesting club. It's interesting being a Dortmund fan, I can tell you that much.
So why Dortmund for you?
My stepdad, my dad, as you can see, was Irish.
Close to Dortmund now.
Yeah, my dad was Irish, and he went to America when I was 5, and I got a German stepdad from Dortmund, Erhard, and he introduced me to the Yellow Wall, the Südtribüne, aged about 7 or 8 years old, and I loved it. And then I got myself a season ticket. I was standing behind the goal watching Ike Immel, who some of you may remember at Manchester City.
Yeah, we won't mention Steve Coppell in the same sentence, though.
Yeah, so Ike Immel was our goalkeeper before he went to Stuttgart and then on to Manchester City for a couple of seasons. And that was when I started going to Dortmund, was in the mid 1980s. So I've aged myself a bit here. But I basically just stayed a Dortmund fan, and then I started the Dortmund Fan Club in 2012-13 and run it for 9 years. We've had up to 300 members a season. And just traveling over to Dortmund in the Yellow Wall, watching the games and loving it, basically. And obviously when the Champions League comes round, then loads of Dortmund fans come over, and we're expecting to bring about 10,000 to Manchester in a couple of weeks' time. So Brilliant. Looking forward to it.
No, that's really admirable. That. Do you follow any English clubs?
Well, it's a bit tricky, that one, because basically being an academic, I've moved from Oxford to Portsmouth, from Portsmouth to Norwich. And when I was at Portsmouth, I was there for 3 years. I used to go to Fratton Park and watch Pompey. I love them. I love Fratton Park. I don't know if you've been. It's great.
Yeah, been there.
I think Fratton Park has got a great atmosphere. The Kazam, Oxford United, I went to watch them for a couple of seasons. I don't think that's a great atmosphere, but they're a friendly family club. Mm-hmm. And Norwich City, the Canaries, which is the latest kind of club I've been privileged to go and watch. I I did an interview with Mario Vrancic on our podcast and Christoph Zimmermann, and so they kind of introduced me to Norwich City. Obviously, Vrancic is a Stoke City player, and Christoph Zimmermann, many years a Norwich City player. So I've kind of got used to moving around and also getting to know different players and managers and just interviewing people on the podcast. So I've got to know English football by that, but. No, I mean, I suppose if I had sympathy with a club, it would probably be Aston Villa, who you guys are playing next. Yeah, because
we played them yesterday, 1-1.
That's it. Well, Aston Villa. I mean, when I was a kid, Villa were European champions in 1982, and I probably must have been about 10 at the time. And
we heard enough about that yesterday.
Yeah, I remember being very impressed with Peter With and Gary Morley and the team there, and. Yeah, so I suppose Aston Villa really, but at the end of the day, I've moved around a bit in England, and I think if anything, I probably enjoy going to Fratton Park the best. I think that's the best atmosphere for me.
Yeah.
So how often do you get to the Dortmund games then?
Last season I went to about 14, 15 games in Germany, but when I'm in Germany, I'll go and see several games. So I'll go to second Bundesliga, third Dritte Liga, sometimes even the fourth tier, and then I'll go and watch either Dortmund home or away. Last season I was at the Bayer Leverkusen game where we lost 5-2, unfortunately. And then I went to watch our second team a couple of times in the third tier, which thankfully last season our second team were very, very good. So yeah, I probably get to go about 5 or 6 games a season. I haven't had a season ticket for years. Dortmund have got 55,000 season tickets out of an 81,000 capacity. And you know what? I'm at number 20,000 on the waiting list for a season ticket.
I'm sure you could get one another way though.
I'm sure John would be able to get you one even for Dortmund.
I'll let you know when I've got one. I'll come back on the show when I finally get my season
absolutely ticket. So Britt, Erling's obviously joined us, 10 goals in 6 matches. Would you expect him to start off this good?
Oh, you're putting me a bit on the spot there. I think you should probably hand over to someone else to talk about Erling Haaland. I mean, what do you guys think of him? I mean, obviously he's on the cover of 442, which is quite impressive. England seems to think he's the player that's going to break the Premier League. Do
you think that?
Look, I mean, he was battling it out with Lewandowski for 2 seasons, and Lewandowski. I mean, how good is Lewandowski? Let's be honest, And the kid's only 21 years old.
22 now.
Yeah. 22. I mean, what can you say? Honestly, what can you say about Erling Haaland? Look, he slacked off the second half of the season last season. He basically got injured for quite a while. But until that point, he had been our target man par excellence. There was no one else. And we're having difficulty replacing him, quite frankly. We brought Sebastian Aller in from Ajax, who didn't have the best of time at West Ham United, but he was lead scorer in the Eredivisie in Holland for 2 seasons in a row. He unfortunately has come down with testicular cancer, which he's just had an operation for. God bless him. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And we also brought in a PSV Eindhoven's best scorer, who has not done particularly well at Dortmund, and he's done so badly, in fact, that I can't even remember his name, but it will come back to me.
It must be bad.
He's a superstar, Erling Haaland. You're very, very, very lucky to have him. I mean, I think he could have gone to Real Madrid, but he's ended up at Manchester City. And it's very romantic, isn't it, what with old Alfinger? I mean, what did you guys think of Alfinger at the time?
Oh, well, it was in a time when City wasn't very good. He was one of the players who came from a good club, but not being a regular. At Leeds, he did well at Forest and stuff like that. I just think it's really romantic, and I just think he's a beast, an out-and-out beast.
Haaland is an absolute machine.
Yeah.
I don't think he's human, to be honest with you.
I'm surprised he's only scored, I think it's 7 headed goals in his career now.
Yeah, but no, it's 8 now, isn't it? Because he's got 2 for us, hasn't he? He had 6 when he came to us, and now he's got 2 more. 5, was it?
Yeah. For the size of the lad, I find that really, really unbelievable, to be honest.
It is, but he's got Kev De Bruyne now putting the crosses in for him now, hasn't he? So I'm sure he'll do fine now.
Yeah. There's no doubt about his quality. Going back to you didn't see the match yesterday, Ben? We're finding a lot of City fans are getting a little bit mad. Is the word, Anne-Marie?
Yeah.
They need a good shake, is what I think.
We've got one. He bought the club.
No, but you know what I mean, Andy.
Oh, well done, Andy. That was quick for you, mate.
John. I think it's like a reality check. It frustrates me, particularly, and we see it in our group where, we set, for me, it's a case of it could always be worse.
Yeah.
We could be back where we were, and it's like we're not allowed to mention the past with our new group of fans.
I'm not in my house either.
No, but we're with the new generation of fans.
No, you're right.
We're not allowed to mention the past because it's like we're living in the past. Yeah, the past is what's made us what we are today, and what we watched in the early 90s was absolutely shocking.
Thing is, we've got a lot of new young fans coming through, haven't we?
Yeah.
And all they've ever seen us is now. They've not seen what we've seen. So all they've seen is us winning. And it's like we used to look at United fans thinking, why are you being like this? All you've ever done is won. You know what I mean? But I know it sounds horrible, but the fan base is slowly morphing into United's fan base.
I agree with you. Totally.
I know. I kind of think we need to educate them a little bit.
They won't listen. They do not listen. One bit. I've tried.
Yeah. But for me, yesterday, it was frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
But
it was.
It could always have been worse. We could have.
It was frustrating, and half the team played bad yesterday.
Yeah.
But they have days like that, and it happens. And
I know we say that, John, but there's certain players at this moment in time. I'm not one player in particular at the minute. For me, hasn't started the season well at all, and that's Kyle Walker.
Absolutely,
I agree with that.
And what worries me is that Pep hasn't got, because he's not convinced about the left back situation yet. He's not got confidence, yes, to drop Walker yet.
Well, you've brought in Sergio Gomez, who is a left back, who was a former Dortmund player. He is a left back.
He's literally played. He played I think an hour against, or did he play the full game against Barcelona?
No, I don't think so. He's been integrating him, and he's bringing him on bit by bit.
So
the thing is, yesterday, what surprised me about the game is it's like when Ashley Young came on, and we couldn't even outrun him. He's 37 years old.
Yesterday.
No.
Foden, I don't think, has played.
No, Foden was. He turned into Sterling yesterday, Foden.
I don't think Cancelo's played well this season.
No,
he hasn't. But yesterday, Kyle Walker, from the first 10 minutes when he didn't square that ball to Haaland for him to score, we knew what kind of game it was going to be.
You listened to my podcast yesterday, didn't you, John?
Your podcast? You mean your rant?
It wasn't a rant. It was an educational 4 minutes.
Okay, start calling you, what's his name, off Arsenal Fan TV?
Claude. He was,
No, but the good thing is we didn't lose, because...
No, we didn't lose.
Everyone's going on about the Coutinho. I'm still convinced he was offside. He came back from offside.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that I think he came back from an offside position. Mm-hmm. So I've got no issue with it being disallowed. Yep. The fact that the referee blew the whistle and everybody stopped. The saying is you play to the whistle.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's what
Edison would have saved it anyway. It was right above his head.
Edison just went like that.
Yeah.
Because the referee blew the whistle, and quite rightly so, the players stopped. No issue whatsoever. There was too many who had off days yesterday. Walker. What was disappointed in Anne-Marie will love this, was Mahrez when he come on, I thought he was shocking. I really do. Look at you, you smug.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
game-
Because
The game changed when he came on, for the
yeah, not
worse.
for the fun.
Ben, do you want right?
Yeah.
Would you like Mahrez at Dortmund?
Be honest with you, Andy.
I'll drive him free of charge.
At Dortmund, he would probably do good.
Let me ask you this question. Look, the entire Bundesliga spent 480 million euros this summer on transfers. The English Premier League spent £2 billion. Okay, now you try.
And most of that was just United.
And Chelsea.
Yeah. How? I mean, how do you expect us to compete in Europe when we've spent when the Bundesliga clubs? I mean, I'm speaking us. I mean, basically, I suppose I identify with the Bundesliga, but a guy like Sadio Mane moves to Bayern Munich. That's the biggest transfer that's going to happen in a decade in the Bundesliga. Basically, these are cast-offs from the Premier League. They have a few years here, and then they end up in Germany. I mean, at the end of the day, the German Bundesliga is becoming a feeder league for the Premier League. I mean, you guys just pick up all the best players from Germany, like Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Ilkay Gundogan, and so on. It's very difficult. I mean, let me reverse the question. I mean, I remember your cheeky Bagiristein a couple of years ago complaining about German clubs picking up players like Jadon Sancho and then selling them back. And now we've bought Jayden Braaf in from Manchester City's academy. As I said, Jude Bellingham. I mean, how do you feel as English fans about English players going to Germany and then being turned around and being sold back for big money? I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's quite a pertinent question, isn't it?
To be honest with you,
I think good luck. I think good luck to the German clubs who do it, especially Dortmund, because and when a club sets a fee, that's what it is. It's for me. It should be non-negotiable. I want 100 million. Is my player. If you don't give me 100 million, you're not getting me player. It's as simple as that. So good luck to the likes of Dortmund and that who do pick up some, cheap players and sell them for, crazy money.
Yeah.
End of the day, Dortmund are willing to take a chance on them, where the Premier League aren't.
Yeah.
So good luck to Dortmund for doing it.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? I actually, Dortmund are very popular in England. I mean, there's a lot of people who really recognise that entrepreneurial spirit, that bulldog underdog spirit, basically. And I think that's what's made Dortmund a very popular club. When I started the fan club in 2013, there was only one other BVB fan club, which was in Edinburgh in Scotland. And now we've got 9. We've got one in Birmingham. We've got one in the southwest. We've got one in London, which is ours. We've got the Edinburgh fan club. We've got another one in Aberdeen. There's another one in Lancashire, one in Sheffield. I don't know. I've probably said more than 9 by now, but that's pretty good for a German club. I mean, let's face it, England and Germany have not. It's not always been the best relationship, has it? Let's face it.
No,
it's not. But do you see similarities between the Bundesliga and the Premier League as in styles and physicality?
No, I think England and Germany were similar in the 1980s, basically. But the only thing is the German national team have been fantastically successful. They've won 4 World Cups compared to England's 1 World Cup. They've been very consistent at producing top talent. 70% of the players in the Bundesliga are German born and bred. And that's, England is now down to 30%. It doesn't seem to be harming.
Thing is, regarding the national team in Germany, a lot of that is down to a lot of them play for the same club and play together quite a lot.
Yeah.
There's no rivalries like it is in England between them. It's like in the England squad, you've got little cliques of 3 or 4 players and they don't really get on. So that's why I think England struggle.
Yeah.
There's too many club rivalries between them all.
Yeah. Well, I think, at the end of the day, back in the day, I think all of us here on the show today are old enough to remember when you could only have 2 foreigners, right?
Yeah.
And personally, one of the reasons why I think a lot of English fans go over to watch Bundesliga, not only for the fact that our tickets are so cheap. I mean, a season ticket at Dortmund, if you can get one, is anywhere from 199 to 599 pounds a season, which is very, very cheap, because the cheapest one you can get at somewhere like Arsenal is about 800 quid. So at the end of the day, Bundesliga is cheap. I pay about on average 20, 25 quid to get in for a Champions League game, even for a top game, you know. So it's cheap. The football is excellent. The atmosphere in the ground, you know, massive standing terrace at Dortmund, 26.
Yeah, that's something what's, you know, well renowned. You know, the like the yellow wall and stuff like that. It's always a great atmosphere with Dortmund.
At Man City, the cheapest one is £299.
Yeah, and that's one of the cheapest in the league.
Yeah,
it is.
I think with Wolves, you've got one of the cheapest in the league. And they're an exception, Man City. Yeah, I mean, you know, you'll see it when Man City come over again. There's going to be a great atmosphere. Dortmund, for the first time this season, they've got permission from UEFA to be to fill the stands. So it's going to be 81,000, including the 26,000 yellow wall behind the goal. On both.
That means we'll get more tickets then.
You probably will. And you know what? They'll be cheap as well, because I've just paid €58 for my Manchester City ticket. So. Yeah, you'll be paying about half of that to come to Dortmund. I don't see many similarities. You know, German football, it's robust, it's hardworking, it's it's disciplined. It has a lot of the qualities of England in the 1980s and 90s, but at the end of the day, the English league now is faster. It got more athletic. You've got way bigger stars playing in. You know, I mean, German fans aspire to watch the Premier League, to come over here and see games. They're looking up to clubs like, Manchester City, Liverpool, and so on. And, I think there's probably more similarities in some ways between the Scottish League, in some ways, ironically, than the German League now. You know, clubs like Celtic and Rangers are more similar to Bayern and Dortmund. But you have to realize that Bayern Munich are on a star of their own, basically. They're on a plane of their own, basically. Because
they cherry pick everything, don't they?
They can buy anything. They pay 40% higher wages. You know, Dortmund, the entire squad is worth 400 million. 400 million, that's what is that? About a third of the value of Manchester City? I mean, you tell me.
Probably a quarter.
Yeah, something like, but I still think the Premier League can, you know, take a lot from the Bundesliga, you know, the way they operate and stuff like that.
50 plus one, Andy.
Yeah.
50 plus one. SC Freiburg, who are currently top of the table in Germany, they're 100% fan owned, and that, sir, is something I respect immensely.
Yeah, no, and same here. You know, although we are, you know, really, really rich and stuff like that. One thing I will say about our owners, they're close to the fans. Would you say, Anne-Marie and John? More than
I would say so.
Chelsea or, you know, the other wealthy clubs.
Yeah, we do have a lot of input of what goes on. And we can actually speak to people in the club where other teams and fans can't get near anybody. So yeah, we still are quite involved with them.
And you only have to see that with, you know, the infrastructure what our owners have brought in, you know, just round the Etihad and stuff like that. That's where I was born and bred. Everything's community based as well, you know. So I think we are sort of like an exception to the rule within a very wealthy club.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of German fans probably remember Main Road, and I know it was in Moss Side, rough area, and so on. But there was a certain authenticity about the atmosphere and the fact that, you know, the club were not successful, but they were very kind of gritty and working man's football, you know. So a question I'd love to ask you guys is, you know, when you think back to some of the Dortmund players who've played for Manchester City, what do you think of people like, I mean, obviously Ilkay Gundogan, but also Stefan Karl, Eike Immel, and so on. Are there any memories? And also, what memories do you have of traveling to Dortmund or playing against Borussia Dortmund over the years? What does BVB mean for you, basically, as City fans?
Well, I'll kick off. Gundogan is probably one of my favourite City players of all time. He is a Rolls Royce of a player. Dortmund as a club, I'm not just saying that, I've got respect for, you know, the way it's run and the atmosphere and stuff like that. and that with this, like with a safe standing and that you've got at Dortmund, that's something, you know, we could take a leaf out of, John.
We've got safe standing now at the Etihad, haven't we?
Not how it should be.
Yeah, we've got the actual rail seating in now,
Mm.
so it's actually, you know, as it should be. All this at that end's all stood up now as they should be, but obviously not to a scale of Dortmund's. But it's like travelling. Last time I went to Dortmund, we drove over from
Exactly.
Manchester. Yeah,
Exactly.
we drove. I got a speeding ticket in Dortmund as well.
Sorry about
Because it was
that.
on the autobahn because it was raining. But never mind. But yeah, I enjoyed the play. The actual place is brilliant, and I've been to Dortmund a few times, and I'll be going again very soon. But yeah, everything's fine. Like regarding Dortmund as a club, yeah, we've got a lot of respect. The fans are very passionate.
Mm-hmm.
They're a good team, but they can also be a bad team where it's like with City sometimes. If they don't turn up, then they can get mullered.
Yeah, I mean, Dortmund are very inconsistent. Recent seasons have been incredibly frustrating for Dortmund fans because you just literally didn't know which Dortmund was going to turn up on the day. And that's partly just because they've been turning over players. But also another thing I love about German football, I don't know what you feel, Dortmund has no debts. Dortmund has been producing profits year in, year out for the last 12 years.
Yep.
You know, it's a club. German clubs are run to a profit. They're not run to a loss. You know, as a fan of German football, you can't even perceive a situation like at Old Trafford. You know, those guys at Old Trafford where the club's loaded with £500 million of debt, or Chelsea where they've got £1 billion of debt and stuff. You just can't even perceive that because we, the fans, we are the club owners. Because we own 51%, because that's the rule in Germany, is that 51% of every club has to be owned by the members. I pay €100 a year. I get to be a member of the club. I get to vote on key decisions that are made at the annual general meeting, such as who comes on board as the new chairman or the new treasurer, or if they're going to expand the ground, or this year, as we did, introduce a women's team and things like that. You get to vote on all those things. And so there's a kind of a sense of democracy, of kind of being part of something where you as the fan actually count. You're not a paying customer, but you're actually somebody who can kind of make decisions and have a certain ownership. And I think that sort of, those days are long gone in English football, I feel. I mean, I feel in some ways that English football teams are kind of being kicked around from one, like Portsmouth FC is a perfect example. They were every couple of years, they were sold to a new owner and a new owner and a new owner. And then eventually they went bankrupt. And then in 2014, then the fans had to buy the club out, you know. And it just, I think that's
we were nearly in that position.
Yeah. I mean, certainly quite a few clubs round your part of the country have been in that position, haven't they? I mean, you know,
Oldham,
yeah. And think of Darlington FC. I mean, what a mess that was. I mean, my God, they bankrupted themselves over building the stadium. So, you know, at the end of the day, I think there's a lot to be said for the 50+1 rule and for cheap tickets and for fan ownership, basically. And you know what? As a Bundesliga fan, basically, you wouldn't trade that for very much, not even for winning the Champions League, to be honest.
No, because Germans are very, very efficient, aren't they? You know, as people. So I wouldn't expect anything different than that.
Well, you've got Jägermeister behind you. You've got a nice bottle of German schnapps behind you, which I expect you to be tucking into.
All for show.
I'm glad to hear about Gundogan.
Yeah, it's, you know, and that's what I said, you know.
Right behind me there.
He's got, John's showing Gundogan behind him there.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I think we've always, as City fans, well, as a club, we've always had a good connection with, you know, German football, whether it's Rosler, Bert Trautmann, you know, like say Stefan Karl, you know, who's the other one we got who was a bit of a...
Well, you bought Niklas Jensen off us. Do you remember Niklas Jensen?
Yeah, he had a great foot in.
Do you remember that goal against Southampton, I think it was?
Yeah.
From outside the box.
That's the one where he just followed it, yeah. So
Pelted it in, yeah.
Oh, City as a club have always had a great connection, with German football.
Yeah.
Haven't
Uwe
Yeah.
Rosler is a big one, wasn't he? Because he played
Oh.
for you and he also managed the club as well.
Yeah, and he started off at. Where did he start off? Now he started off at. You said it early on in the show.
Uwe Rosler.
Yeah.
Well, he's a manager. He's still a coach in Germany now. He was from East Germany.
Yeah.
And where did he play? He played in Magdeburg, Nuremberg, Kaiserslautern.
That's the Kaiserslautern I was thinking of.
A
Yeah.
couple of seasons at Southampton and West Bromwich Albion as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's a bit of a legend, and he's a very good friend of your friend Stefan Karl, who you can remember.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very impressed by that because he was only with you for one season.
Yeah. I can remember him. I'm thinking of the other lad as well. He was part Italian as well. Bit of a rogue. Who was it now? It's I think he was only with us for one season as well. Something to do. He got arrested or something for dodgy cars or something.
This is a former Dortmund player.
I don't know if it's Dortmund.
German player.
Yeah, German player.
That's right. I'll tell you who that is, mate. That's Mauricio Gaudino.
That's the one. Maurizio Gaudino.
Said partly Italian, didn't you?
Yeah, see.
Yeah. He was about as Italian as any German comes.
About as Italian as Anne-Marie liking Mahrez.
Yeah, not a chance.
Yeah. So what's your hopes for the season, Ben?
Well, firstly, I'm really honoured to be on your show. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If we can pick up a point in Dortmund, I'm going out to Seville. I don't know if you guys are heading out to Seville. That's a lovely city.
Yeah.
And I tell you who played for Seville. Do you remember Vinny Samways?
I did. Yeah, ex-Spurs player.
Yeah, Vinny Samways. I had him on the podcast last week. He is the best. He's literally, you don't get more Cockney than that. Absolutely lovely lad. And he played in Las Palmas for 6 seasons. He played in Sevilla for a season as well. Lovely lad. And I'll be going out to Seville, coming up to Manchester for the game. FC Copenhagen's our opening game this week. Mm-hmm. I think it's on Tuesday or Wednesday at home. If Dortmund don't pick up points against Copenhagen and at home to City and Seville, then basically I think we'll probably end up dropping down to the Europa League like we did last season.
You might get to knock United out then.
The chances of knocking United out are pretty much zero, I would say.
Oh
no, definitely not.
But yeah, what about in the Bundesliga?
Bundesliga this season, I think, is much more open than it has been for quite a few seasons. Basically, you've got RB Leipzig, as usual, who won the German Cup last season, Bayern Munich, who were always an evergreen. I mean, they've won 10 leagues on the trot, which is absolutely shocking, basically. It's making us into a bit of a farmers league, quite predictable. It's getting quite boring. But I think this season, Freiburg are very good. They're in the Europa League. Union Berlin, who just took a point off Bayern Munich yesterday and 1-1. And they're also in the Europa League. So, they only got promoted 2 seasons ago, so they're doing phenomenally well. Club from East Germany, from East Berlin.
Yep.
It's much more open this season than it has been for a number of years. So, I mean, to be frank with you, I think Dortmund have got a couple of problems. Having sold Manuel Akanji, we've now suddenly got an injury to Matteo Morey, who is a right-footed defender. And I think we're going to end up needing Manuel Akanji, to be honest. So, the other problem Dortmund have got is on the right wing as well.
You can buy him back for 40 million.
Jamie Bino Gittens, who we bought off you. Do you remember Jamie Bino? You probably don't even remember him, I suppose.
Don't ring a bell, actually.
No, he was in your under-23s, and we picked him up for about 2 million. He's turning out to be quite some player, but he's just dislocated his shoulder. So we'll see how it turns out, basically. But my prediction is Dortmund will probably end up in the top 4 this season, I'm afraid. But, at the end of the day, for Dortmund, as long as we beat Schalke, who just got promoted back to the Premier League, and again, thank you so much for thrashing them 7-2. And I'll tell you what, the funniest bit, that Dortmund have got a sponsorship from an airline called Eurowings. And there's
Yep, knowing well.
there's a Borussia Dortmund airplane, and Schalke 04, when they traveled back, and this is completely random, they traveled back from Manchester City, what was about 5 years ago. They ended up on the Dortmund aeroplane just after they got thrashed 7-2. We were loving it, I tell you. We were absolutely loving it.
Okay.
When you're saying about the Dortmund, the actual Bundesliga, and you just said then about Bayern winning it for so many times, and it's getting like a Farmers League, and you said it's getting a bit boring.
Yeah.
So would you rather have it like the Premier League?
It depends from what aspect. I mean,
see, without going to the style of the Premier League, then you couldn't have all the money, because for it to be like the Premier League, then you've got to have all the money.
No. I mean, look. Supporters Direct here in this country have done a recent poll, and they found that 70% of English fans that were members of Supporters Direct would like to see the 50+1 introduced in this country. And I mean, I think if the European Super League showed anything, and you had protests in Manchester, remember, as well at both clubs. If the European Super League showed anything, it's that we're not up for franchise football in England, in this country. We're not up for Milton Keynes Dons, the Wimbledon club being moved around, to Dublin or Milton Keynes or whatever. I mean, God bless the AFC Wimbledon fans.
I'm up to Liverpool being moved somewhere like Ireland or something like that. I'll do.
Right. The only good thing about European Super League would have been if Bayern Munich had been offshored and basically taken out of the Bundesliga. But I mean, you saw what happened with the European Super League. Bayern and Dortmund immediately said, we're not going to take part, because they know that basically they're owned by the fans, and the fans were absolutely livid in Germany. And so at the end of the day, the Bundesliga is a league which is predominantly where the fans have an awful lot of influence. A club like Freiburg or Dortmund, the vast majority of their seats are sold out well in advance. Dortmund has 81,000 seats, of which 55,000 are season tickets. As I said before, I'm 20,000th on the list waiting for a season ticket, and I'm a president of an official fan club. So what can you say? Honestly, what can you say? I mean, if I can't get a season ticket, who can?
John,
so
can you get Bennett?
Borussia Dortmund are a good example of a fan-owned team, basically, where things are done in a certain reasonable way, and they don't live beyond their means, and that's the way they want it to be. And I don't think that the style of the Premier League is a style that suits many clubs outside of the top 10 in the Premier League. Basically, when I go to football, I'd rather go and watch Oxford United, Portsmouth, or even Norwich City, or even clubs which are lower down than that, basically.
They all seem to play in yellow, these teams.
Well, Portsmouth's second,
Oxford, Norwich.
Well, yeah.
Dortmund.
The thing is, it could never happen here because football, the television money has ruined football in this country.
But you know what, Anne-Marie? You know what? The German Bundesliga deal is actually not dissimilar to the deal that where the Premier League get a lot of money from is the United States, because the Premier League deal is about 4 times the size of what it is for the Bundesliga. Only makes something like 300 million over 4 years from the United States. So the Premier League is the league of choice in Asia and America. And that's where all this money is coming from, basically. And that's why Americans and Asians are buying the clubs. Clubs like Leicester City, owned by the Thais, and you guys are owned by the Gulf states and so on. But at the end of the day, the Bundesliga is more German, if you like. You've got more German players, you've got more German ownership of the clubs. And so there's it's a bit like going and watch a championship or a league.
You do know we're not owned by a state, though.
I'm not going to comment. I mean, there's a lot to be said for the Premier League in terms of its sheer power and the ability.
I know, but there's certain aspects of it then that you kind of, for me, I hate the way we get messed around with kickoff times.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
For television, it's not the likes of me as a season ticket holder. It's irrelevant whether it's convenient or not.
Yeah,
But for television, they'll change it just to suit them, and
That's right.
that's starting to really get on my nerves.
Yeah.
that's right. I mean, that's exactly another thing in Dortmund. In Germany, we no longer have Monday night games because the fans basically put their foot down. So, I mean, I'm as British as the next person, but I really do enjoy going out to Germany and watching the games, partly because of the fact that basically you get a Ryanair, you stay at a youth hostel, you pay 20 quid for your ticket, you've gone on a trip. The only thing that annoys you is the price of the National Express coach to the airport, because that costs as much as the flight to Germany.
Right.
But by the time you've gone away for the weekend, you've had great atmosphere, you usually have a really good game, and you've spent as much as if I were to travel from London up to Manchester and back on the train, and have a meal out and go to the game. Because the match ticket at Man City or Man United, especially for me, who's not a club member of Manchester City, I mean, I'm going to end up buying it on StubHub, probably paying £100 for that or more. The train will cost me 70, £80 if I'm lucky, So you can see how basically it makes sense to go out to the Bundesliga, because at the end of the day, you've had a weekend away, and that's something special in itself.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with the connection between Dortmund and City, they seem to have a good relationship and stuff like that. Do you think there'll be a lot of interest, especially with Haaland, you guys watching him week in, week out, or is it just Bundesliga only for a lot of the German fans?
Every look, I mean, when I don't, am I allowed to mention the red team?
Go on then.
When
the Rags.
Yeah. When the Glazer team across the other side of Manchester, who apparently,
that's a good name for him.
Yeah. when they basically, I mean, let's face it, the real club is that other FC of Manchester, isn't it? FC United. I'd love to know what you feel about those guys, because I mean, let's face it, that is the real Manchester. Well, that's the real red team in Manchester, really, isn't it?
That's the fans' team.
That's the fans' team. That's the fans.
Yeah.
Team, right. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, when Ralph Rangnick was appointed, and United screwed him over. There's no two ways about it. They appointed him on a 6-month contract as the coach, giving him a 2-year role as a consultancy, and then they screwed him over and kicked him out after 6 months and bought the coach from and paid big money for Erik ten Hag from Ajax. And at the end of the day, that's just typical of United, isn't it? I mean, they buy whatever, any coach, any player, end up screwing them over. Think Paul Pogba and other lads, basically, and then basically end up, wasting them. I mean, Jadon Sancho, absolute legend of the Bundesliga. He's had a terrible time at United. And I mean, at the end of the day, what I was trying to say basically was that when Ralph Rangnick came over, he, like Kloppo, like Thomas Tuchel, for them, it's an absolute dream to manage an English club, because English clubs still have a massive reputation in Germany. We still think, German fans still think back to the legendary teams of the 1980s, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, the Reds from Anfield and so on. And those massive English clubs that won the European Cup year in, year out. And there's a lot of football romantics that basically, admire English football in Germany. I went over a couple of years ago with the Dortmund Legends, and I played at Sheffield FC. I don't know if you know them.
Sheffield
FC, the oldest English football.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And, you wouldn't have believed how much interest there was to go over and play at Sheffield FC, the oldest club in the world. So I think, and that's a 7th tier team. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say essentially is that German fans very much admire English football. I'm sure you get plenty of German people coming over to watch watch the City at the Etihad.
Yeah.
You'll always find people coming over from all over the world, and Germany is no exception. There's a lot of German fans of the Premier League. There's fan clubs in Germany of clubs like Arsenal, as I said, Liverpool, Celtic.
Yeah, Man City have got some as well.
Yeah. and we even now play our third kit is
Yellow.
desk.
It's yellow and black, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good dynamic, basically. The Premier League sends young players over to Germany. They do really well. Players like Oliver Burke, Reece Oxford, Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham. And then basically they then come back to England as made players because, at the end of the day, you're going to earn about a third of the wages that you do here in England, but you definitely get trained very well. You get, basically it's a good place to play your football if you're a young English player. And that's what I think. But at the end of the day, the Premier League, in most German fans' perspective, is the NBA, or the NFL of world football. Basically, it is the football league on the planet, basically. And so there's a bit of envy and a lot of admiration, I would say, But there's always going to be that German-English rivalry as well. I mean, we haven't fought 2 world wars for no reason, have we?
And Marie remembers both of them.
What's on your T-shirt, Anne-Marie? I'm really curious.
Oh, it's
beans and egg.
It usually is, Andy, but it's 93-20.
93. That was the season that Stefan Karl played for you.
Yeah, but it's not about that. It's about Aguero.
In the 93-20, hence the name of our podcast, etc. Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, guys. Anything else we want before we wrap it up? No.
Yeah, I was thinking. We've got the City Football Group, and we own about 11 teams, don't we? 11 around the world.
Yep.
We've still not got one in Germany yet, have we?
I'll tell you what, mate.
Is that down to the 50+1 rule? We can't buy one?
You can buy our under 23s. They're bottom of the 3rd division and they're going down. You're welcome to them.
You've got most of our players there, though.
Yeah. Well, we've got Jayden Brav, who's come up a few times.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody even remembers him, but we picked him up on a free.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. And he was injured for most of the season. I mean, yeah, why can't foreign businesses come in and buy clubs in the Bundesliga? It's because of the 50+1. Because I think a lot of clubs, Augsburg have got an investment from a US investor. There's a club called Victoria Berlin in the 4th tier that have got investors from the US. A Singaporean company called Asia Pacific have come in. They bought part of Kaiserslautern. And you can buy minority stakes in German clubs. But it's just basically a different way of doing things, to be frank. I wouldn't say it's any better. I wouldn't say it's any worse, but we're doing all right. We're doing all right. I mean, what can I say? I mean, Dortmund is Dortmund. Dortmund is a club that could probably play very well in England.
It'll never change, though, because the fans won't allow it to change.
Mm-hmm. The fans won't allow it to change. And, at the end of the day, it's been like that for a long time. But there are people who are trying to push for that. The chairman of Hannover 96, you'll remember Karl-Heinz Rummenigge's been on the board of Bayern Munich. He's been pushing for some time for the 50+1 to be abandoned. I don't think it's going to happen.
Been pushing for quite a long time to get us kicked out of the Champions League as well.
Yeah.
Well,
They have.
Not that
Just a question, Ben.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any dealings with Der Spiegel, whoever it is? Do you have a
MSV Duisburg?
No, the Der Spiegel, is it the newspaper?
No, yeah.
Oh, Der Spiegel. Spiegel. Yeah. Well, I actually do write about, if you want to Google me, I do write about the Bundesliga, which is partly why I'm throwing so many numbers and figures and names and so on out at you the whole time. I write an article a week for a website called German Football News. I thought I'd just get that in quickly. And I basically cover Borussia Dortmund, but which is great fun. But Der Spiegel, I've been interviewed by Der Spiegel, basically just because they thought it was amazing that Dortmund had a fan club here in London.
They absolutely hate us.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, as Anne-Marie said, that business about the FIFA, whatever, UEFA fair play rules. I mean, at the end of the day, some people would argue that spending £2 billion on the transfers this summer, ultimately, from a Bundesliga perspective, you, the fans, are paying for that.
But it's only our club they keep coming after.
We actually made a profit then.
Yeah, we did. This window, we made a profit.
Well, I can't really argue, to be honest. I mean, you've got the best league in the world. You've got some of the best athletes in the world. It's great watching the Premier League. But at the end of the day, I'd rather spend 20 quid and stand at Dortmund and have a beer, have a smoke in the stands and enjoy the crazy atmosphere you get out in Germany and have a weekend away than spend my money on a train ride up to Liverpool or wherever.
Only one thing I can say.
Yeah.
The drum does me head in.
We look forward to seeing you at the Westfalenstadion, the Signal
will.
Iduna Park in a few
I'll be
weeks'
there.
time.
I'll be there.
I'm
Right.
afraid you'll be taking the points with you, but we'll definitely give you a good atmosphere and some excellent beer while you're over there.
Yep.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for joining us, Ben. It's been a pleasure. Great insight into what we can look forward to with Manuel Akanji.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck with Akanji, and thank you so much for the wonderful memories about Ilkay Gundogan. He spent most of his time injured at Dortmund, but it's fantastic to see how well he's doing. And I'm sure that you've picked up a very good player in Sergio Gomez as well.
Yeah.
And I've met him as well, and he's a really, really nice lad.
Yeah. And a City fan as well.
Thanks for that. Great to hear. Lovely to meet you all. Thanks a
All
lot.
right. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Catch you again
Bye now.
soon. Bye-bye.